So welcome to our wee channel where we're gonna we've had a long ass year of not being able to do a hell of a lot of biking. So I figured that, we figured we'd do some chatting about biking really as a way to sort of be interacting with it and still enjoying being a part of the whole scene and everything. And thought that would be kind of fun. And hopefully these will progress, and if people like them, we'll keep covering other topics and stuff, and maybe we can wander off from biking a little bit and talk about other things. And this is just sort of based on our own meandering experience. This isn't a how-to or a presentation or anything like that. We're going to sit on the couch. We sit on the couch every Sunday morning and ramble about all kinds of topics. And this is going to be that kind of format, really. This is us rambling on.
Yeah.
So what have we picked for our first little...
Let's talk about helmets.
Yeah, talk about lids. We've been through a few different helmets and stuff. And I think the important thing with us is that I think we're really different, aren't we? And that we have a wildly different experience.
Well, we ride different bikes. We ride differently. We want different things out of our riding experience. We value different things. We're both pretty function-based and not as much fashion-based. But those functionalities have to do completely different things for the both of us because we want different things out of our riding experience and can tolerate different things more than others.
So I think one of a good one there really to talk about is that you listen to music a lot.
I do.
So wind noise is a huge factor with helmets for you, I think.
Yeah, wind noise and just general. I also ride a really loud motorcycle. My exhaust on my bike is stupid loud, which I love.
Everybody comments on that, don't they?
Yeah. And if I don't have a lid that's got good, real, nice suction, a real good enclosure around, the outside noise gets into my head a lot, and even with earplugs in, which is something else we could talk about, I get a lot of, ambient noise that bothers me. And I do listen to music a lot when I ride. I like to hear my music. I listen to a lot of vocal music, so it's not just boom, 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 and that's it. I want to actually be able to hear the singer and the lyrics so I can sing along and have a good time with it. And so having a really quiet helmet has always been really important to me.
So do you find that when you buy a helmet, you talk about how enclosed you feel?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the foam of the insert, it presses on your face quite a lot? Do you like that sort of tight, snug feeling?
Yeah, so the first helmet that I ever bought was that Frank Thomas helmet that I bought. And I bought it because I didn't know if I was going to continue biking. I just bought it because I needed the helmet.
Was that a flip front or a full face?
It was a flip front. No, it wasn't. It was a full face.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was super basic.
It was super basic. It was 50 quid at J&S. It was totally super basic. It fit me properly. So when I put it on my head, you couldn't really move it. You sort of do that jiggle test to see if you hit yourself in the back of the head. Does the helmet slide? And none of that happened. So I do think that it fit me properly, as in the sizing of the helmet was right.
Yeah.
But I could get my fingers in.
There's a huge gap at the sides.
And that wore down so fast because it was so basic.
Yeah.
That foam, that padding that when you first get it and you fit it over and it's nice and snug and tight. After 2-3 months, that just
lost all its
sponginess.
Yeah.
So there was all of this space in through here that was really... There was a lot of cavity in there. There was a lot of space in there. Now, one thing I will say is that for girls, the thing that was great about that, not just for girls, anyone who wears jewelry.
Yeah, this was going to be my next question, because you've got to take into account earrings. I mean, we don't wear snaggy earrings, and you don't wear massive earrings, but even so.
I don't, but these, the earrings I have on right now, and I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but they have,
They're danglers.
they're danglers, and they have pretty sharp pointed back on them.
Yeah, so they're a hook.
So it's like a
fixing.
hook. And what will happen is when you've got that foam, it basically will push the back of your earring hook like into your neck. Now, on my Frank Thomas helmet, because it lost all of its pressure,
Yeah, because the sponge
the
was
sponge was garbage.
Shitty sponge.
I could wear whatever I want and be really comfortable because I basically had like big hollow like air pads
So
in
did
my
it
ear.
all become loose? Because there's like the crown fitment.
It never got to
there?
the point where it was like shaking on and off my head. I think it was more the really like the stuff around my face. The base of my neck was always fine, but I just felt like maybe it's from putting it on and off so many times that not styrofoam padding, the not hard stuff, just didn't bounce back.
No.
So it was great for earrings. It was super comfy.
Yeah.
And that's something that I have to change about what I wear now when I ride because of my current
So
leg.
your sort of priorities have shifted more towards audio than about earrings and stuff.
Yeah, and and audio over a long time. Because that was the other thing. When I first started riding, I'd go out for what? An hour, 2 hours.
Yeah. That's the classic thing, isn't it? When you look at custom bikes that have seats and shit made out of metal and stupid handlebars that are all over the place.
Yeah, and you wear a piss pot lid or something like that.
You can do fucking anything for an hour.
Yeah.
You can tolerate any bullshit for an hour, but once you get more than that, or everyone's got a different limit, I think. But for me, all my shit has to work all day.
Yeah.
Because sooner or later that's happening, and if I've got shit that doesn't work all day, then it's a big ass problem.
Yeah. So I think I didn't notice how much the noise bothered me until I started riding for long periods of time. Mm-hmm. I didn't wear earplugs either.
Right.
At the beginning.
Yeah, again, you're going out for an hour?
Going out for an hour was like, whatever. I was riding the Honda CB500 at the time, which was a much quieter bike. We were doing little jaunts here and there. We weren't ever really getting up to speed.
Bike meet, Matlock, which is about an hour away.
Whatever. And now this is my helmet now. This is my Schuberth. And when we went to try on helmets and pick this up, one of the things that Schuberth is known for is how quiet they are.
Yeah, because I seem to remember you did quite a bit of Googling and found a helmet that was notably quiet.
Well, there are two reasons I bought this helmet. One was because of the quietness of it, and the second was because of the shell size.
Yeah,
Schuberth
that's
is another one
important because you've got a pretty small head.
I've got a really dinky head. This is an extra small.
So for people that don't know, shell size is the size of this overall outside hard bit, and on cheap shitty helmets, what they do is to make the helmet fit different size head shapes, they change the insert inside.
Pad it more or
yeah,
less.
so there's more padding and less space for a head to go in there, so it fits a smaller head. And on the cheap shit helmets, they keep the same shell size because it's cheap just to smash out one lot of shell sizes, and then they just change the inserts. Now, on more expensive and better helmets, what they actually do is when you've got a smaller head and you get like an XS or an S, so that's extra small or small helmet, they actually fit it with a smaller shell on the outside, and what that does is it reduces weight, it reduces drag, and it also makes you not look like a fucking bobblehead.
Yeah, and it
which
is,
I think was your biggest concern.
which was a big concern. Yeah, and I think
like
that Frank Thomas helmet that I had, they don't do different shell sizes.
No,
so I was in an extra small head.
Yeah.
In the same helmet
as I would have had.
you would have had, and I can even put your helmet on because it looked exactly the same as when I had my helmet because it was the same shell.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised when I did that research of how few decent manufacturers change shell sizes. It's not as common as you think.
Is that not just the shit from Aldi? That's actually like on some better brands.
On some better brands.
They still stick with a one shell size.
Yeah.
Shit.
Because I think the majority of their consumer market is going to be medium, large, extra large.
It is, yeah.
Because it's men, more or less, and it's not worth the money for them to manufacture different shell sizes. So for some of the more standard, we're talking about like I hate to say it, like hipster brands, like Built Well and stuff like that, do loads of different shell sizes. But when you're talking about a little bit more function over fashion brands, Built Well's a great brand. They're really functional, but their sort of market value is more on looking cool while being safe. Whereas this is not a looking cool helmet. This is like a super functional helmet. Those brands don't often do different shell sizes, even for really high quality helmets.
Yeah.
So this was one of the few that I found that even did that at all.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I wasn't looking to spend 800 pounds. I wanted something a little bit more mid-range than that. And I wanted something that was super quiet.
Yeah, I mean, that's one advantage that we've got. I think it still stands here in the UK, is that everything anything that's road going helmet wise or sold therefore has to pass some kind of safety rating that I've...
Yeah, it's like an EU.
I can't remember what the fuck
I
it is.
don't know what mine is because it's totally covered up.
Yeah, I haven't got a clue. Maybe this one's
Maybe your new one's got it on?
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. No, here it isn't. No, it just tells you that no. I guess they don't put it on
Maybe
anymore.
they don't put them on them anymore.
No idea. That is rated, but it's not on there.
Yeah, so this is the helmet, and I remember when I went and I bought this, the guy was asking me about like how much we ride and was really surprised that I bought this helmet because...
Yeah, because we actually went to, and that's an important thing because the other thing with helmets is that your head shape has to match the helmet.
Shoeies?
Yeah, won't fit you, but I can't wear half the brands. Like Shoei and
V.
Yeah, what's the other one? I can't remember. Whatever.
Yeah.
I need a long head shape. Leigh needs a round head shape.
Really
And we're talking that from the top down. So it was really cool. And one of the things that I was really impressed with was when we went to get Leigh's helmet. I've always bought online and bought wasn't really like
dodgy second-hand
helmets over the years. They're pretty dreadful. But we wanted to get you something that was really functional and that would work. And going to J&S was in Nottingham was super cool because the guy in there, I don't know his name, but he was really helpful.
Really cool.
And he actually didn't make any assumptions about Leigh going in. He actually asked her what kind of riding she did, what kind of bike she was riding. You know, are you going to have a headset in this thing? And talked you through. I think he showed you a bunch of different things, and you walked out with something that you genuinely liked.
Yeah, he was a really cool guy, really solid guy. Really wanted to help me find the right thing that worked for me in the price point that I wanted to spend. Yeah, I really like it there. They're really
I'll have to find out his name because every time I go in there, I feel like he actually wants you to leave with a product that works. And not the most expensive thing on the shelf.
Yeah.
Which was so important. And they leave you alone in there. I really like.
Yeah, it's
I
a good
really
place.
like it as a business.
I think what was funny about buying this is that this helmet usually markets to what he called like the middle to old age
OAP list.
OAPs because it's so quiet and they're all like just wanting to go for a nice chill like Sunday bumbly ride, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to Switzerland next year, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I love how quiet this is, and I love how easy it is to listen to music and how easy it is to hear you, even at speed through the headsets. Largely because I'm just not getting any wind noise.
No, yeah, that's a huge difference. Now, my helmets are noisy as hell.
Yeah.
I don't generally listen to any music at all. My main concern is, does it fit my head and can I wear it all day without it aching? Now, that was an important thing. Your helmet had an interesting thing where
Yeah.
you had to cut some out of it.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
this is super interesting. For a high-end helmet, we didn't expect this.
So I obviously have a flip front helmet, and this bit right here kind of hits me right here on the front of my
Yeah,
forehead.
there's a seam, isn't
So
there?
this is before, and I don't think you're going to be able to catch
No,
any
we
of
won't
this.
get it on the camera, but
There's a kind of a ridged line of padding.
yeah.
So you've got like the pads that kind of come down the sides and like cup your head. And then in this helmet, there's a ridge one that comes forward. So it kind of goes on the top of your head, and then there's little air gaps on the side between those that kind of give you some warmth and a little bit of cushion. Now where that ridge line one comes and meets and seams with those two other pads on the side of your head, there was like a seam point
Yeah.
where they all get stitched together. And that hit sort of right below my hairline is
Yeah,
where that
it
was
did.
kind of hitting on my forehead. And maybe because this is a nice snug helmet that hasn't lost its padding, it hasn't really deflated or reduced there. Maybe also because the other thing is to take into account, I've had a lot of different hairstyles. The more hair you have on your head, the more space your head occupies in your helmet. So
Yeah,
I've had
yeah.
my hair really short with shaved sides. I've had it a bit longer. I have it kind of shaggy now. That will change if you gain some weight. That will change.
It's all organic padding. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
so this will kind of fill or not fill your helmet more or less. And when that seam line pushed so hard into my forehead that I think it was after the trip to Switzerland. Or was it to Spain?
Yeah.
When we went on a long trip, so I was wearing this helmet for 10 hours a day, every day for 2 weeks. I got a massive like bruise
Yeah, you
and
did.
sort of like
And you spent
skin reaction on it.
all the time off the bikes walking around with a big red dent in the middle of
Right.
your head.
Yeah. So I take the helmet off finally, and for hours afterwards,
I thought it was
really good
fucking
time.
hilarious.
I always have marks on my face. I have really sensitive skin, so I always have some marks, but usually they go away in what?
You look like
20
a
minutes.
dick.
I did. I looked like I had a huge, like, zit or
Oh god!
something.
Right in the middle
right
of
in
your
the
head.
smack dab
I
in the middle of my
think
forehead.
I think it's way more excusable if it's at the side of your head
Yeah.
or on your cheeks
Or on your
something
cheeks,
like that.
and you get that sort of thing. So I'm going to try to like talk our way into getting camping and shit and look like someone's beamed me on the forehead.
Yeah, they're like looking at your eyes and looking at this thing on your middle of your head.
Really bad. Really sore as well. It was super sore.
Yeah, I remember after a few days of that was pretty bad.
So I ended up actually pulling you can pull all of this padding out.
Is that removable for washing?
So this is removable
What
completely
the hell
for
helmet
washing.
is that from Showbeth? I don't even know which one it is. Does it
don't
have
know.
a tag in it? No, I
No.
don't know. It's Showbeth Flip. I don't think they do many flip fronted.
Great helmet. The padding comes out for washing, and what I actually ended up doing is I didn't do anything with the padding because I didn't want to tear that apart and ruin the stitching, and I don't have the skills to fucking fix that. So I dug out some of the shell. So the shell that's in the helmet is like hard
Polystyrene.
styrene, yeah, really hard. And so I got like a carving knife and like a spoon
Notched it out.
and notched it out so that when the padding sits there and my head goes into it, the padding has somewhere to go into the helmet
Instead of going into your face.
instead of like digging a great big freaking crater in my head. But there's two seams that come down. I think they come down this way.
Yeah, you still get those.
And I still always get that. So for someone who's got sensitive skin or is just really, sort of pale like I am, you're always going to get that. And if I in order to not get that, I'd have to wear a helmet that didn't fit me properly.
Yeah.
Because even though I get those lines, I don't feel squished into this helmet.
No.
That was
I
funny.
think you've said, and you don't get the Mr. Chubby.
I don't get the
thing
chubby
go-
cheeks.
No.
I'm still really comfortable, but I'll always, and in my hair, like I'll always have the line. We also have mics in our helmets, and sometimes you get like the little microphone line
mic
because
line.
it's pressing into your skin. But that fades like what, 20 minutes after you
Yeah,
take
that
the
doesn't
helmet
seem to
off.
stick around like the
Dot of
forehead
death.
thing.
Yeah. It's because I basically had like huge. It's just some weird shape, or maybe, like I said, it was because I had more hair, or
Yeah, it could be. That was kind of weird. That was very, very weird.
but easily sorted, and
Yeah.
doesn't really affect the integrity of the helmet or the safety of it. It's just cutting out a little bit to make it
Yeah,
sit more
you're not
comfortably.
like taking. I've heard about people where they get a helmet that's the wrong size and it's too small, and they'll take a knife and cut half the polystyrene.
I wouldn't
out.
recommend that.
No, that's kind of dumb. You don't really want to be messing with a helmet that much. I mean the other thing that's kind of interesting here is that a lot of people ask us how come we wear flip fronts, and that's.
I will never not have a flip front.
No, I'll never. I mean, this was my first flip, I think. No, actually, this is this is a Shoei. I'm sure you can't see this. This is an old Shoei multi-tech. I'm gonna get it in the focus box. Oh, I hope we're in focus. We should be. We might not be. You might have to imagine. I don't know. Imagine we're in focus for this episode. But yeah, this is my old Shoei multi-tech. I'm not sure if this is a multi-tech 1 or a multi-tech 2. I've had both. And the minute I mean, this comes back to our thing, where I would wear a full face helmet. There's a few different things that are important with flip fronts. Is they're generally less safe than a fixed front helmet. Some are less so and some are more so. So this Shoei has a special metal pin system that supposedly holds this on really solidly. So in the event of a crash, it will protect your face to a decent degree. Whereas other ones, you look at them, the shitty ones from Lidl and stuff. I don't know if this is still the case, but it used to be the case that this is purely to stop your face getting hammered by the wind, and the weather and everything. But if you face plant, it's off, it's done. It's just purely plastic trim, and it makes for a much better riding experience. But it's not there when you really need it for safety. I'm not sure if that's changed now. I mean, the rules of helmets are changing all the time, so that might be different now.
I'm not sure if they can make an open face helmet, then there can't be a lot of regulations around.
No, that's it. No,
flip front
exactly.
part.
And I think they do issue their own standards and stuff as well, where they tell you just how safe it is. But us touring together, we'll have. I mean, this again comes down to how long we spend in the saddle.
Yeah.
So if we're doing an 8-hour day, and we're talking to each other, we're stopping, we're buying petrol, we're doing all that kind of stuff.
Buying fuel.
Yeah, I mean it's such a pain in the ass having a closed fronted helmet. Also we should mention that it's really unpleasant as well. I think if I'm sat in traffic, stuck in traffic somewhere that I'm not allowed to filter or there's no room to filter, I'll crack the front of the helmet open. Let it be.
And how many times have we pulled up to see something like a view? You know, we're not even going to get off.
No, we're not getting off. This isn't a long stop. We're not messing about. We will stop without stopping, won't we, if you will?
A lot, especially on tour.
A lot.
Where you see something cool or someone sees some garbage on the side of the road that may or may not look interesting. We'll often pull up just to have a minute and take it in so that we can look at, I mean, we've come all this way to fucking Spain or whatever to just have a minute and take it in, and not being able to pop your lid would just not be as good.
It detracts so much. I mean, everything about our helmet choice. Eating. We do quite a lot of eating.
Snacks.
You like a snacky time when you're in a traffic jam. I've seen you snacking in the rearview mirror.
I will take any opportunity to have a snack.
Yeah.
And I have learned how to feed candy through the lid.
I've seen you like drop it in.
And you have to like drop it in and then kind of like get it with your tongue. But I mean, there are times in traffic or when, like we said, we're just pulling up to have a break, or when it's fucking pissing down with rain.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to take your lid off to get your whole head wet, because this is basically a raincoat, rain hat that you can just flip the lid up and shove some food or some coffee in quickly.
Or a fag even, if you're having a smoke.
Having a smoke or whatever, and then carry on. Don't have to deglove.
Yeah.
I mean, degloving is also in order to really get your lid off and on properly. Personally, I have a really hard time with that in gloves, probably because my hands are so small. My gloves never fit me properly. They're always too big. So dealing with any of the fiddly bits on latching my helmet properly, I can't do that with gloves on. So if I had to take this off and on, that means gloves are off and on. It turns into a 5-minute ordeal, and when you're doing that 10 times a day, that makes a huge difference.
It really adds up during the day, and this is when you start to make different decisions. And like we said, you can do absolutely anything for an hour. You can wear a horrible, uncomfortable helmet for an hour. You can put up with a lot of stuff that sucks, but you really can't put up with it for days and days on end. I mean, that's another video that we're going to do, is talking about our riding that we do and what we do when we're riding, because that's the big difference with us, is we will go away for a week or a month and spend that whole time day in, day out on the bikes. Whereas if we were day trippers, going from Nottingham to Skegness and back, I think we would make some massively different decisions.
If it was really going to be just a 2-hour ride where there aren't going to be stops in between that I don't know that I'd feel the difference. Although but like you said, I flip my front lid when we're in traffic or at a light. If you have an itch, I don't know. Like, I do it all the time. Maybe it's more habitual now because I have it.
Yeah. I've gone back since between, I think, when I had the Multitech 1 and between that and the Multitech 2, I tried wearing a fixed face. Which looked really cool. I think it was it was before I met you, it was an old Raid, not a Raid, what do they call them? I can't remember. There's one that looks really cool. The Stig wears it in Top Gear.
Yeah, that does look cool. Does it have that sort of bigger, fatter...
It's got a big band around the front that's huge, and it looks awesome, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to the end of the street, it's like, this has got to go. I can't. Once you've had one of these and got used to it, I don't think there's any going back.
You find there's any difference with your beard? Did you have a beard back then?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a beard, but it's varied a lot in length. And since meeting you, as somebody who really likes a long beard on me, my beard is bigger, and it's been longer than this while we've been together. I had it really long for a while. And that's a real pain in the ass, because you'll grab beard and when you reach, not that one, but these two. So this is my new helmet that we'll talk about in a little while. But on both of these, you can see that the release tongue is that little red bit there. Yeah, so you reach for that with a big beard, you're getting beard as well. So you end up...
I don't have that problem.
Do you not? You've never caught your beard?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I
that
keep it
surprises
well
me.
groomed.
Yeah. You bick it every morning.
I do.
So yeah, you get a bunch of beard with it, and that's a nuisance. A bit like when you're doing up your
clasp.
The clasp part of it. You use different techniques when you've got facial hair, so you don't end up with it all stuck in it.
That's another thing I really like about this helmet, is it has a ratchet clasp. So you put it in and it just ratchets closed, whereas your old helmet has a D-loop, doesn't it?
Yeah, so this is the classic D-loop style, and this is very much down to, is that in focus? Maybe it is. So this is the classic D-loop, which you may or may not have seen. I can't see if that's in focus or not, but you know what I mean. And there's different schools of thought on which one of these two you prefer. I don't care personally. It's never bothered me.
I can't handle D-loops.
No, they're more of a faff.
They're more of a faff, and I don't know, it's just, I don't wear a belt. I don't have a lot of experience doing that particular task. So I find it very difficult to do that. It's blind, and when you're doing it under your chin, you can't look at it, you know, whatever you're doing under here to clasp up.
Yeah.
You're doing it from muscle memory or whatever. And I find that this gives me, it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster, and it gets a lot nice and tighter.
Yeah.
Because I can really like ratchet it in. And again, for those of us who maybe
That's an
gain a
important
bit
point,
of weight,
actually.
this is more flexible.
So there used to be a problem with this style. For a while, they did a version of this which was fashioned after a car seatbelt. So you had the receiver on one side, and just like on a car seatbelt, on the other side you had like just a metal loop.
Tongue.
And that didn't allow for any adjustment. But the advantage with these new ones is this is an incremental ratchet type style. So if one day it's a bit more snug than it was the previous day, which you do know, I noticed that I need mine, it'll be loose one day and it'll need to be a bit tighter.
Well, it's
the
also
next
if you're
day.
wearing like a really thick neck tube.
Yeah, and it bunches
And
your
it
skin
bunches
up.
your skin up, like when it's really cold. I don't get as many clicks.
No. So that's a really important development in these. It used to be the case if you went for a D loop, every time you put it on, you're inadvertently adjusting it just right for your face that day.
Right.
And you didn't used to be able to do that on the older ones, seatbelt style, but now you can, and it's a part of it, and it's way better.
Yeah.
I really like those as well. I don't think, given a choice,
Would you
I
go
would
back?
go back to a D loop.
No.
This doesn't have it. No, this is ratchet as well. And I suppose I should really start talking about this one.
The peaked helmet.
Yeah, the peaked helmet. So let me bring this in so maybe you can see it. We'll all be getting some better lighting at some point. So this is my Scorpion ADX1, which I got last year. First time I've had a new helmet in a while.
With the most massive shell. This helmet looks ridiculous on me.
Yeah, it is a huge
So this is a
shell.
good example of why shell size matters, because if we thought of me buying this in my head shape.
Can you do it? You don't know that one, do you?
I don't know how to do There we go. But, so it would fit me on the inside, but the shell would be the same size.
Yeah, you look like a total bobblehead.
Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, completely ridiculous.
This is hard. That's a hard flip front.
It is, I think it's because it's new. Yeah, it's massive in comparison. I'll put your one on and we'll see what that looks like.
Versus my actual helmet.
It's kind of hard to see because we've got the dark couch behind, but on a well-lit day, yeah, totally different. Totally different.
Much smaller.
Yeah, much smaller, much better fit. It looks like it's built for that head size.
But even if that helmet, and that's kind of what my Frank Thomas one looked like, to be honest with you, because the shell was massive.
Yeah.
Massive shell. The shell had to fit the biggest head size that they had.
Yeah.
And it was the same shell that I wore. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so this is my first sort of helmet upgrade in a few years. As you can probably tell, I tend to own them probably slightly longer than I should, because it's the amount of wear and tear on them by the time I throw them out. Yeah, that's kind of questionable. But this is the first time. There were a few reasons I really like this. I went when I was with Leigh, when Leigh was picking her helmet up. I tried a couple of these out, and I thought it was just night and day. So I've come from the Multi-Tech or the Multi-Tech 2, which I'd bothered to figure out which it was, but I didn't. So I came from that to this, and the first thing you notice is the visor size.
That I am jealous of.
So again, because we're in these all day, every day, and seeing amazing sights and experiencing stuff, that visor size for me personally is a huge deal.
It's huge.
Absolutely huge dear.
Even though you look like you're
so
from
much more.
Halo.
Yeah, it is like a Halo rip as well, which you may or may not like. Are you a fan of the game? I don't know. So that was one huge. I'm like, holy shit! I can see so much more with this visor. I really want this. So that by having a bigger visor, you've obviously got less meat here. But as far as I know, these ones are reinforced. You've got a couple of pins either side, which normally means they are. Again, it's calculated risk.
But this was hard to find, wasn't it? A flip that had a peak.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
this was the problem. I mean, I can find this size visor in a flip. I can get a flip anywhere. But the one thing I couldn't get was a flip with a peak. And we seem to spend so much time on our trips riding directly into the fucking sun. We were going across, I think it was either going across France or coming back
coming home.
back across France. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that we were facing the same way the sun was setting or coming up, and that went on for hours.
It's also, I think, in the UK, there's a lot of time here where the sun is low in the sky.
Yeah, and we
Like-
have what the American folks would call big sky.
You have big sky,
Yeah, so we
and the
don't-
sun is at like fucking 3 o'clock in the sky for a long time, especially in the colder months.
Yeah,
It like
yeah.
doesn't really ever get to be high noon. The
No.
sun just kind of like comes up a little bit and then hovers and hangs out there and then goes down.
And there's no trees to cover you from it, largely. We did a real number on deforestation on
Yeah,
the
there's
island.
nothing.
So you're getting it right in the face,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I'll try this peak out, and I put it on in the shop, and the first thing I noticed was I couldn't really see the peak. And so I assumed, oh, this is some fashion bullshit. There's a lot... When you're in the biking world for a while, you realise that a lot of the shit is worthless fashion crap.
Oh, don't get me started on this.
Yeah, we'll do that in another one because you've struggled with that
Big
particularly
time,
as a
yeah.
lady rider. Fashion crap is a big problem, and by fashion crap we mean stuff that isn't really fit for the purpose it looks like it should be, but it looks cool, and that's all it really does. So I put this on, well, that's total fashion crap. That's not going to work. And I went away. I said, yeah, I'm not going to bother getting one of those. I want to know what it's like to have a peak. I wear a hat all of the time, and I love having a peaked hat for this very reason, really. And yeah, I put it on. Didn't think it was going to work at all. Turns out that, well, I looked it up online afterwards, and people said, no, it really does work. And I put this on, I bought it, gave it a shot, I got it in a sale from somewhere or other, and it was total night and day.
It's annoying, really.
Yeah, it pisses Leigh off loads because she's behind me and can't see shit, and I'm in front going, how's the over the intercom going, how's the sun back there? Is it pretty good? Fuck you.
Fucking annoying. So annoying.
I like the trolley, don't I?
Yeah, it's your favorite thing to do. I think it really works for you because we've played around with it a bit. Actually, me not having a peak has meant that we can test it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And there are times where it's that. I think a big reason why this works so well for you as well is because you wear glasses. So for me,
Yeah.
when I'm riding into the sun, I can kind of cheat it by tipping my head down.
Yeah, I'm
Which
bringing
is going
that
to mean
part
that
of
I'm
the
talking
helmet.
right into the mic. But if I tip my head down and then kind of look up, so I'm looking correctly at the road, but by tipping the helmet down, I'm cheating the brim of my helmet downwards.
Yeah, so it's doing the same thing.
So it's doing the
kind
same
of.
thing and like cutting off the sun, kind of like a visor in a car that
Yeah,
you would
or
flip
holding your
down
hand
or
up.
holding your hand up. So I often will ride
Which I used to do. We've done many miles.
with him just like in the permanent saluting position.
Because it just so fell that I end up being road captain a lot.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about in another episode when we talk about what we do when we're on the road together.
But you
and how
can't
it
do that
works.
because he'd then be looking over his glasses.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're screwed with your head
Yeah.
in the position that it's in.
So I have to literally ride one-handed and can be riding for miles and miles
Yeah.
and miles like that.
Yeah.
Now, I think what anybody that's had helmets before is probably knows anything about modern helmets is going to say to themselves is, why do we not use the Top Gun feature?
I
Gun
hate
feature
the
is
Top
this.
Gun feature.
So let me demonstrate that for anyone that doesn't know. Can you even see that? So I don't know if you can make that out, but that's brought down a secondary visor, which is tinted. Now this is kind of funny because these both don't work. These
For
are
different
both,
reasons, I think.
yeah, for different
Yeah.
reasons. These are shit. This is a piece of shit. Oh, sorry. This is a piece of shit in this helmet, and it's a piece of shit in that one as well.
Yeah.
Now, why is yours shitty? I think it's kind of funny because it wasn't shitty when you first got it, was it? But it progressively becomes quite a lot worse.
Well, yeah. So there are two real big reasons that I don't like using this. First big reason impacts the second big reason.
Right.
I really like to ride with my lid up. Not my whole
Yeah, you
front,
do,
but
don't
I
you?
love
Yeah.
to ride with my face shield, visor up. This is also because we often ride very slowly. We do a lot of back roads, so we're going 30 miles an hour.
We're real slow riders.
We're really slow riders for a lot of the time. And when we're doing that and we're kind of in this lovely scenery and it's a beautiful day, I just really like to have my visor up.
Makes a huge difference.
It's just a preference. And because of that, what happens is, as we ride, all of the dirt coming off the back of his wheel, because he's road captain and doesn't have a mud guard and rides with a knobbly
so I
tire.
throw a lot of dust.
So all of the dust and dirt basically comes straight at me, and will get up in here.
Yeah, so that's part of the vent system, isn't
So,
it, I think?
I don't know. I think it is. I think where this vent is on the top of the helmet here is the same air flow for where the little Top Gun guy is located in the helmet.
I think it sort of sits in the vent.
So this thing gets so dirty.
Yeah.
So dirty and covered in dust and just I can't see through it. The rest of my lid will be completely cleaned.
And I think it's
and it's scratched.
Yeah.
So it's scratched now, which means it does that weird like reflecting thing. So even though it's tinted, when the sun hits it, you see like the full lines of scratch.
Yeah.
The other reason I hate using it, and this goes back to the first thing I told you about me liking to ride with my visor up, is if you ride with your visor up and the Top Gun visor down, again, because of the vent system and just the way that this bottom piece here is still open, so this visor doesn't come all the way down into the helmet. It doesn't go into like where your mouth is. It's almost like a half visor. The air, as you're riding, scoops underneath here and goes straight into your eyes.
Yeah, you get that sort of roll.
And it becomes a bit of a like vacuum tornado situation.
Yeah.
Whereas when you just have your whole visor open, you're kind of just getting breeze that just goes across your whole face. Whereas if you have your visor open and the half tinted visor down, the air like
It's almost like turbulence or something.
travels
isn't
up
it?
and just like gets crazy in your eyes. So there have been some
bad.
occasions where we've been riding at speed with my visor down into the sun, particularly when we're going home and we're just fucked off with it and we just want to get home.
Yeah,
So
we're tired. We've had a long
we've had a long,
trip.
awesome day, and the ride home always blows because you know the road. So we're just going to bean it home and go
Yeah.
fast, where I've wanted to put this down. And by that time, I haven't cleaned it, and it's so filthy because I've been riding with my visor up all
I
day.
remember you
that it's
pulling up
useless.
next to me and me saying, why don't you have your Top Gun visor down? And you just turned to me and like, put it down. And it was just a wall of shit.
Yeah,
You were basically, it's instant
dirt
mud vision.
and mud and. Although I think there has to be something about the aerodynamics of my bike riding behind your bike.
Yeah.
I get covered in shit.
Yeah, we'll go through an area and like
Bugs.
bugs are a really good example of this. Leigh always rides behind me 90% of the time, unless it's the end of the day and we're exhausted. We have different roles in our trip. We both contribute to our trips together, which we'll talk about in another one. And my contribution is to be road captain and do the nav, the sat nav work. But hey, that's really interesting. We will ride down a road that's got loads of bogs, green fly or whatever in this country. There's a lot of green fly around. My visor will have half a dozen and stuck to it by the time we get to the end of the road. Leigh's will be covered.
I won't be able to see. I have to stop.
Yeah.
And like my jacket will be just like totaled with bugs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that I have the wake theory.
Yeah.
That Nate goes through them and then the air sort of like...
If you've ever ridden behind a big lorry...
A truck.
Yeah, ride behind a big lorry and you'll get buffeted around all over the place because the wind goes down the sides of the lorry and then comes in and converges behind it.
That combined with the fact that my bike, I sit so tall on it.
Yeah,
and my
you're way up
handlebars
there.
are very low and I've got no fairing or anything. So I'm very, very exposed on my bike. I think those two things is like the perfect shitstorm for bugs, dirt, anything. Rabbit kidneys that may be coming flying at me.
I hit a rabbit once which exploded and most of it went into Leigh's face.
So I'm always covered, which I think is a big reason why that I just look like a fucking mess between the bugs and the dot on my head. I look like I've been through a freaking war. So I never use the visor because mine's always filthy. That's why I don't use mine.
Yeah. Mine was slightly different reason, slightly simpler. And I assume this varies between helmets. Well, I know it definitely varies between helmets. It must vary between the ADX1 and the next one that rolled off the factory or something, because all mine does, literally all it does, is make everything a shade of dirty brown.
Oh yeah, yours isn't very dark, is it?
No, it doesn't do any like sun blocking anything.
Just makes it all sepia tones.
Dirty,
Perfect.
grubby brown. And to be honest, it's pretty rare that I'll be riding along and looking at some beautiful scenery and think to myself, I really wish this was a dirty brown colour right now. Never happens, so I never put it down. That's never taken.
And you had a bit of a weird thing with this helmet at the beginning, didn't you? Because of it has a warp. Remember that?
Yeah, that suit. Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned that. So this one, I think because this visor is so huge, that they had, in order to stop it being a wibbly wobbly mess, they made it super thick. So if you compare the thickness of this plastic with my other one,
is it thicker than mine?
Yeah, you feel that, and then feel yours.
Oh yeah,
Worlds
it's
of
way
difference.
thicker.
It's like 1.5 times the thickness, and I think because of that, when you're looking around, it does warp what you're seeing slightly.
Fishbowl.
Yeah, like those, I'm trying to think, yeah, it's a bit like a fishbowl, and it's a bit like the ancient panes of glass that you got in really old houses where they didn't do float glass. Or maybe it was float glass that was bad.
I don't know what the fuck float glass is.
In ancient buildings.
Back in my day.
Yeah, back in my day. We didn't have windows, we just nailed a plank over it in the evenings. So that's it does warp it a bit. You do get used to it. I don't notice it anymore. But when I first put it on, it was horrible. And you don't notice the
drag.
Yeah, that's an important thing about the visor. So this is, people ask about drag, and the majority of the time it's absolutely fine. Going into a headwind, I surprisingly don't notice it. But when I look left or right, if we're going at speed, which is rare for us, or into a headwind, which is way more common, you will feel it sort of shove the helmet. So you look right, and it is pushing you to look right even more. Only slight though.
Yeah.
And the other thing with these is definitely, this is a noisy helmet. This is a super noisy helmet.
I know that this helmet is noisy because your mic will pick it up.
Oh, right.
So your mic will whistle.
Yeah, with all the road noise.
So I get to hear your road noise as well.
Yeah, I don't really give a shit about road noise so much because I don't have to
You don't give a shit about me hearing it. That's for sure. I don't really give a shit if you can hear my road noise.
So the road noise, this is an extremely loud helmet. I don't really listen to music very often. If I do, it's more a novelty. And/or we also spend a lot of our time riding slowly.
Yes, that's true.
So I don't experience a lot of wind noise that the majority of riders, I think, ride faster than us. Simply because of our choice of roads. You know, we ride B roads. What do you call those in the States? Are they B roads? You don't really have
Back
them, do you?
roads?
Yeah, back roads. Can you remember?
No.
It's been a while.
We don't really have this. It's more like a dirt track road, I guess we'd call it.
Right.
Because we don't have like single track lanes and we don't really have that in where I'm from in the U.S.
No. But the important thing is that we ride quite slowly, and we're often surrounded by hedgerows and things, and we don't really get a lot of wind. Not like someone that's sitting on the motorway at 80 every day, you know, whenever
It would still drive me crazy.
Yeah, it probably would.
The whistle,
yeah.
I just...
You couldn't hear your music clearly. I can't hear my music clearly.
Yeah.
But I will absolutely, that's my choice. The visor and the sun deflection is so much more important to me when we're out and riding about. I think that's it for the ADX one. Is there anything else? I mean, that was a good point with the visor and stuff. The vents work really well.
I don't know. The other thing is that this helmet is super long. It's got that weird...
Yeah, it does have
So
this
looks
weird...
like such a completely different shape than your shoeies.
Yeah.
So when we met, you always rode with your shoey, and this makes you look like the Green Goblin.
Yeah, it
from
does.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, it's very stylised, which you may or may not be into. Let me get that in the middle of the screen. I hope this focus is
I have
working.
no idea.
I really hope we're not out of focus. It's a single point focus on this camera for some reason. Yeah, so it depends if you're into that. Again, I would rather not have it, but I really want this peak, and I just can't get anything else with a flip and a peak. It's crazy. And I think there's one more helmet that we haven't discussed.
We haven't... Oh, I sit in here. This helmet is my...
Oh no.
This is my... You got this for me as a gift.
Yes, yeah.
And I've always wanted a glitter helmet. And so I don't even know what this one is.
Cheap.
A Daytona Cruiser.
Daytona Cruiser.
It doesn't have a visor at all. You have to wear glasses with it, or I think you can probably get a bubble visor to put on it.
Yeah, you can get a clip-on bubble that I think they started in Japan.
It's got a ratchet, which is the same as the other helmets that we've been looking at. But it's obviously completely open face. I have worn this.
And there's not much padding
And
either.
it's tiny. I mean, we talked about looking at these shells and how it looks different on my head.
Sketchy tiny.
This
is sketchy tiny. Look how small the thickness at the sides. That is tiny.
Tiny, tiny, tiny helmet.
And it has passed inspection, but even so, personally, I'd want some actual padding there.
This is very comfortable. This is very, very comfortable right now.
You wear goggles with it, don't you?
Wear goggles with it, but as we already established, I really like to have my visor up anyway. So for little bimbles and stuff, this is perfectly fine. There are a couple reasons that I don't wear this very often. One is my headset is not in this.
Yeah. So when we're together, we have the intercoms on and we chat pretty much continuously.
And when I ride alone, I really like to listen to music when I ride. So even when I am going out on my own, I rarely choose this helmet because I don't have my headset in it. And as much as I love our headsets, it's not easy to change them over. It's not like you can just take off and put it in, and I would have to invest in another headset that would live in this helmet.
Or buy a slightly shitty one and put it in.
Yeah, which I might do.
The wind noise, it balls that up anyway.
The wind noise is psycho on this helmet. It's just intense. And I have to say that when I've gone out in this on a few handful of times, I don't feel safe.
No.
It's a weird feeling because
That's kind of mad because we went to the States to visit Leigh's family and we rode around, not on big roads, not at speed, but we did a bit of riding without helmets because it's totally optional
legal.
Where she is. And I don't know, how did you feel compared to that?
This is worse
That somehow makes you feel
Because
worse.
this is like a suggestion of a helmet
That
with the
isn't.
knowledge that you're going to crack your skull open if anything happens. If
You're
you're
going
going...
to get sued by Daytona now for saying it's a bullshit helmet.
It's a bullshit helmet. I mean, it's not a legitimate helmet, especially compared to this.
It's got a dot rating. It is.
I know it's a
legal.
helmet. I know it is.
But it feels like such shit.
And it's got a massive warning label in it, and it just frightens me compared to this lid, which makes me feel very, very safe. I think it also is when we rode without helmets in America. The roads are different, and the driving is different.
Yeah, it's wildly different. You've
Massive,
got
huge
places
fucking
to
roads.
go.
Not a lot of traffic.
If something's happening, you're on a huge road. So if something bad's taking place over there, where we were, you've got a chance to evade it much more than in the UK. There's often nowhere to go if you're going to be in an accident with somebody else's shitty driving or something. So
I think this is much more for short trips and little jaunts, like going to the store, going to the bike meet. And as time has progressed, I feel like you and I do less of that. We're often out on long journeys. Now, what I love about this is the freaking glitter is awesome.
It's fabulous.
And what I wouldn't give to be able to get more really cool paint jobs and styles on more function branded
glitter varied. Glitter varies. That's one thing.
Yeah,
Leigh
metal
really
flake.
wanted a glitter helmet, and I wanted to get her one with really good glitter, so it'd be a great surprise for her. And the glitter quality, when you buy them online, varies immensely. To get this chunky, old school metal flake.
It's really metal flake that I like.
Yeah, it is metal flake, isn't it? I think. And to find that was in that respect,
respect's awesome.
Yeah, and was way better than some of the really expensive ones I looked at that just weren't very glittery, if you like. But like you say, we don't really ride short trips. I mean, the problem is we ride that often that it's no longer a novelty to go to the local bike meet. It's no longer to go to the local cafe we sometimes do, but we're generally going somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's more interesting.
We'll go to the bike meet on the way to
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or on the way back.
We often go places and stay overnight and come home. It's much less.
Or we'll go to the bike meet, which is 15 minutes away, and it'll take us 3.5 hours because of all the other places we've been. So again, not very useful for us in particular. But if you're a bike meet kind of person, that would be an option, do you think? Or do you think this is just for the bin?
I think you've really got to weigh up your risks when you're looking at helmets like this.
You see people wearing these a lot. You see, these are really popular here in the UK. Totally legal. Dot safety marked. You can absolutely ride this on the street.
Because look, my thing is when I'm riding a bike, I am very confident in my riding skills. I don't know if that makes me sound like a brat, but whatever. I don't trust the other people around me. So my gear and what I'm wearing, I'm not just thinking about, okay, I'm going to go 200 miles an hour today. I'm putting myself at risk.
Yeah.
The minute I ride out from my house, I want to know that if I'm stationary and someone beans me, that I'm going to be safe. Because that's, for the way that we ride, probably a more likely occurrence to happen.
One of the things that I started riding, which we'll cover in another video, I started riding about 15 years ago. And Leigh joined me 5 years ago.
Yep.
On her own bike. And one of the things that I've always been really proud of with Leigh, she'd never ridden bikes before, came and joined me, and I've watched her progress. And you've always ridden within I think you've got a great judge of your own skill level. And you've always managed to ride well within your skill level. And as that's progressed, your riding's progressed.
Yeah.
And that's made you
I don't try to overreach.
Safe
I'm not gonna ride a twisty road at 70 just because you can.
Yeah,
sort of want to
yeah.
get it right at the edge of where you feel like you're challenging
Not that I
yourself.
necessarily could, because I'm
You
the
can.
same.
You can. We've had that experience loads of times where you leave me way far behind on some of the more challenging stuff, and then I catch up and we can
Only
ride
very
together.
occasionally, though. This is something I'd like to cover in another one about
Right.
videos, is riding together. So I don't do that very often, and we're talking all the time, so I'm not the guy that rides off and expects you to keep up or anything like that. But occasionally when we're on tour, we'll get to an
yeah.
amazing piece
Oh,
of
yeah.
road, and I want to go quite quickly. And I'll say over the headset that I'm going to take off and, really give it some beans. I'm not going to go and disappear somewhere weird. I'll stay on this road and I'll wait for you to catch up,
Yeah.
and we'll both ride within our skill level, well within our skill level. I don't push anything. But yeah, and I'll wait at the other end. You'll get there in your own time. We'll high five each other because we've both had the best experience we could get with no pressure. And it's really important that when you ride with somebody else, there's no pressure to ride at their speed or skill level if it's different to your own.
But when it comes to this helmet, I wouldn't want to be wearing this on those roads.
No,
And I see a lot of the hipsters and like the VC London girls, and even just a lot of girls in general, wearing this style of helmet with a bubble visor. And I hope that the other brands are better, because if I was going to have this as my daily rider helmet, I feel like I'd have a very different experience on the bike.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be as relaxed.
I don't think I'd be as relaxed.
No, and confidence and being relaxed is such a huge part in biking well and safely.
Yeah.
That if you've got this, I mean, I feel like we're bashing this helmet, and it
has a really good time and place, and it's a really cool looking helmet.
Yeah, it has a place, and I think it's a great helmet for what it is and what it does. What was I going to say?
But
yeah, being able to relax with this on, I couldn't relax with one of these on. And I especially couldn't relax. I think my biggest fear would, if I was riding on totally deserted roads everywhere I went, I would be able to relax with this.
Yeah.
I'd ride slower. I'd do things differently. But when you're anywhere that there are other people, and there's a hell of a lot of road traffic in the UK, I would be constantly concerned.
I like
about
my
it.
face as well.
That's a really good point. I'll tell the story about a friend of mine. The friend of mine had this kind of helmet that they really like to wear, and they also had a full face, not a flip, but a full face. And they were leaving to do a 150-mile trip on the motorway to go to a bike rally. They were going to poodle onto the motorway, get off at the other end. Bike rally's right there. They weren't really doing any challenging riding. They weren't doing twisties and knee down stuff. Not that kind of person. They're on a cruiser. And right at the last minute, they were going in a helmet similar to this one, an open face, not this exact design, but an open face helmet. And right at the last minute, they looked out and they looked at the forecast, and it said it was about to start pissing down with rain. It had been a really nice dry week. They were really enjoying wearing this helmet all week. And then they came to go at the rally, and it said, it's forecast to piss down. And right at the last second, they picked up the full face helmet. And they've been riding all week. They ride regularly throughout the summer. And they got to the motorway. They were coming onto the slip road, the entry road, where you sort of pick up speed to join the motorway traffic. And their back wheels seized. Basically, there was a malfunction with the bike, which I won't bore you with. But their bike seized. They high-sided, which you can Google, and they landed face down at 60 miles an hour, or it's a decent speed. I won't say it was that fast. I don't actually know. But they landed face down and slid along the road. Not particularly far, but their full-face helmet, which they'd chosen at the last second, stopped them from having no face.
Yeah.
And they can show you the helmet, and the front of the helmet is just
like gone.
straight to shit. And they would have taken that whole thing in their face. And that was a split-second decision. Would I wear this? I've known a guy who went halfway around the world in one of these, and there are plenty of guys that do. And that's down to you. If you want to take that if you want to take that responsibility for that risk, and you think it's worth it, great, go and do it. I don't have a problem with that at all.
I just say to new riders especially that see a lot of this in the marketing and stuff, to just take that risk under consideration when you're looking at what helmet you want to get.
Yeah, maybe talk to some experienced riders who are going to ride like you want to ride, get a bit of input from them, make
and
an
put
informed
one of these
decision.
on. You know, go and make sure that you try on a full face, either a flip front or a fixed full face, to feel the difference in like the neck support. I mean, if you look at that, there's nothing. There's no neck. So if you get kicked back and your jaw goes up, you're screwed. And just feel the difference and make the decision that's right for you to make. But you often see this in, like, I see a lot of media where this helmet is for people who do track days.
Yeah.
And this helmet is for people who do like road riding and like to go for a little adventure. And that's really not, in my experience, the case with the actual riders that I know and us, is that this is not just reserved for
Track
highway,
day,
knee down,
guy
huge, 1100 bike, whatever. I ride a 660, you ride a 500. This is
low horsepower
this is where
stuff.
we're coming from. So just like, especially for new riders who are looking at what is out there and what they're seeing, especially I'll say new female riders, because there's a lot of
being pushed right
these
now.
are really being pushed right now. It's just know the risk that you're taking and
make
how
the
often you're
decision
going to
that's
be
right.
on the bike, and make the decision that's right for you, because these are, you can make them look cool. I think my helmet looks fucking awesome. So you don't have to just wear some bog standard helmet. You can still make it yours. And
you don't have to look like a bastard bobblehead. I mean, that is a huge thing. You see so many people that do. They care about.
I think these are
look.
attractive to girls as well, because they are so small and they don't make you look like you're a freaking toadstool head.
Yeah.
But you can sort that often with the right shell size.
Yeah, so I think that's about it, isn't
Cool.
it? Have we covered everything that we wanted to talk about?
I don't know.
Neither do I. But I think we're going to probably run out of space on the SD card fairly soon, so I think we'll call it a day. I hope you enjoyed our first little jaunt at doing one of these videos. I know the lighting's not right. I hope we're in focus, but I don't know. If the audio's not very good at your end, post a comment and let us know. If there's something you want us to talk about, let us know in the comment. If you don't agree with us, let us know and give us your input as well. I'd like this to be a sort of
I'd love to hear some
discussion
feedback
thing.
if this was interesting, or if there are other topics that you want us to discuss.
I mean, this is based on our own small meandering experience. I don't claim to be some kind of expert.
Me neither.
No, not at all. We've
Feel free to ignore any or all of what you just heard.
Go out and buy one. Use it for a track day.
Yeah, great.
Do whatever you want to do. But yeah, this has been fun. I've really enjoyed this.
Cool.
And we'll have to think of something else to do next time around.
Nice.
Okay. Bye-bye.